What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm taking a look at this right here. This might just be the most exciting ever and over the top Gundam 00 anything to ever exist in collectible form. Now this right here is the Metal Build GN Arms Type E by Bandai Tamashii Nations. Now this is from a thing called Gundam 00 Revealed Chronicle, and when I saw this first I was like, I don't know what that is. Maybe they just made it up for the sake of selling some figures. So I looked it up really quick, and on the wiki it said it's a 4-episode anime, and I was like, how did I never hear of this? So I went right on over to YouTube, clicked on the first video that I saw, and then I was like, hey, this is looking like it's got some potential. That is until I realized they were just recycling a bunch of actual Gundam 00 clips at first, then it degenerated into the worst looking eroge of all time. And then there was this little bit of a battle, which was really just a couple of CG models puppeted around somewhat, well, low effortly. It wasn't that awesome, and in the end it did just devolve into being something made up to sell some action figures. But the best thing about it is we get some cool action figures. The other one that was announced from this was the other white Exia, this one right here, but today we're going to be taking a look at this absolute behemoth. Let's get it unboxed. So once we get the box open, this thing is absolutely huge. Let's take a look at everything that's in here one by one, starting with this here manual. Alright, so this thing right here is almost worryingly large for a metal build manual. Usually they're just a bit like of a fold out pamphlet, but this has page after page. There's what's included in it, all the parts that will make up the GN arms. Got a whole bunch of stands. Lots of parts that can move. Anything that's redded out like that right there is not included, so there is no Exia in here, just the GN arms itself. So I'll have to go find my Exia at some point soon. So many different options in here. Massive beam sabers. It can be attached in a multitude of ways. For example, if you just want this segment up here, you can attach that on, and that looks kick-ass. Not even the full GN arms. All the different types of setup, just kind of making it larger and larger. This is absolutely incredible, but that's just a manual. Let's take a look at what's in here. The box right here is separated into two layers, so that is the underlayer with all of the base parts and all of that. Essentially, it's just a whole bunch of segments. So if you've seen any of my videos about some of these metal build figures, they actually come with so many different options and so many things inside of the box. And with these 00 versions, all the parts do work together. So if you do get a whole bunch of different 00 suits in this metal build system, it does mean you'll be able to put the parts together, which means this might be for the Exia, but you can probably use it with all of the Estrias as well. Layer 1. So right, this right here is the first layer of everything that is in here. Now I've built the high grade version of the GN arms. I don't know if I did a video of it. If I did, I'll throw up a clip right now. Otherwise, you're just gonna be staring at my hand for a second. And basically, it's a nice little kit. I bought the high resolution or the high color or something like that version that is for using with the real grade Exia. Now it's an alright kit. It definitely doesn't come in a whole bunch of elements like this right here, nor can it be stripped down to those. It's simple enough, just a nice little mobile armor or extension aspect for attaching on, and does look nice in a display but doesn't do too much. Now this right here so far, just look, this is just one arm of it. We've got decals, the paintwork is phenomenal. This looks so good. We've got moving parts inside of it, which is these little arms that open up like fingers on the end. Just look at that absolute beautiful glory. Moving arm sections that pop out like so. This can do so much. And it's rock solid too, with some nice ratcheted joints so it will hold its pose. This is incredible. There are two of these included inside of the box, both of which doing the same thing. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure these are the parts that plug up from the bottom, and Exia's foot stands on that part right there. Continuing on, I'm going to go for the closest thing to me, and this is absolutely huge. Thankfully, this isn't too heavy. This is light enough, so it's mainly made out of plastic. I can feel some metal up here. That must be its attachment point. And this almost looks like the shield on the perfect grade 007 sword. It's very similar. I'm not sure what actually opens up on this. Ooh, that opens up. Again, the paint work is absolutely stupendous. Some great decals all over the place. This just looks so good. Man, it almost feels like everything you look at can open up. This can open up, this can open up. These two end pieces here can move outwards like so. There is so much going on. I can't wait to see what everything does. Once again, just like we would have seen before, there are 2 of these included, and these are the large arms that point towards the front of the GN arms. So that's what those are. The GN arms is arms, if you will. Moving up ever so slightly, when we do have a couple of beams in here in a nice frosted shade of pink. They catch the light so nicely. There's a little bit of a kind of almost opaque, or should I say semi-opaque, pearl top coat on those that really makes them pop on top of that pink paint. Looking good. Reaching in for the next things, and these are a little bit on the small side. I can't actually tell what this is right off the bat. It's predominantly in metal. No, maybe just the joint down here that's in metal. Maybe this is a joint just for holding something together. Doesn't seem to do a whole lot. Just a pair of joints, it seems. And once again, we do have 2 of that. Reaching on up now for the last thing that we have in here. This feels large too. And this is most definitely the... I'm not sure if this is cannons or thrusters. Actually, I think it is both. So there we have the opening thruster round back. Again, the detailing, the 2 shades of blue, the decals on here looking fantastic. The non-metal but painted metallic parts look great. We've got various level of shine to the gray, which really, or should I say to the silvery gunmetal parts, that really does kind of separate those out. In the front there's the cannon with a little splash of pinky purple in there. That is nice. Goes very well with the fact that, you know, GN particles and whatnot are in green. It's a good choice of color to go with that. Wow. I feel like this right here probably does a whole lot more that I haven't yet figured out. And just like before, we do have 2 of those absolutely mighty thrusters. And that right there was only layer the first. Layer 2. So now moving into layer 2, and once again we have a bunch of those absolutely lovely blue on white parts, I should say white on blue parts. And there is these stands too. Is it kind of bad of me to say that I'm a little bit disappointed by the stands? Of all the things to kind of say, these are a little bit on the plain side. Now, you might be like, that's a bit like kind of not really that important. But if you think back to some of the other metal builds, actually if not all of the other metal builds we would have seen, there's been so much going on the stand to complement the figure. Now, once again, this might be so big and so distracting that you will never see this. Also, I'm going to have it up on a high shelf, so I will never see this. So, moot point entirely. There's even more hidden underneath, like another little packet of adapters and bits and bobs. This really does come absolutely packing. Oh, and there's more. There's some stands down there too. So next up in here, we seem to have some kind of sub-stands. These are very, very, very plain. So I assume these are for putting up with some of the weight of, say, the front arms or something in combination with these little stand segments down here. So more than likely you pop one of those into this with one of those to help out with the absolutely colossal weight. Next up in here, we've got the arm for using with the stand. This has all the bells and whistles we'd normally see. That is these parts here that move like so. There should be some kind of locking mechanisms here and there. Seems to be one here to allow this to slide up and down. And we have a switch locking mechanism to make this move like so. And this one right here to extend it up and down. Now this is a big, heavy duty version right here for a big, heavy duty unit. Pops in down here and in here. Just like so. So moving through what we have, this feels like a core part of it all because there is a lot of attachment points. You've got attachment points there, attachment points there, big thruster down here. So I assume this is the main body. Again, looking phenomenal. We've got a nice little decal here for Celestial Being and that little GN1 down there. This is hefty. This has to be the middle. It feels like it's predominantly made out of metal. Next up, we've got something that seems to be the wings for this. Again, you can already see all the moving parts that are on here. Move this out, we've got this little section. Even the tucked in sections even have that nice little bit of decaling going on. We've got some nice shiny silver paintwork right here. This looks so, so good. And once again, we don't just have one, it's wings. So of course we've got two. Moving on through, grabbing a little bit at random now. This definitely seems to be another central aspect. We've got what looks like a GN thruster right there, like we'd see on the legs of the various Gundam mobile suits. And this looks like a little bit of 100% a little bit of a cockpit. That's interesting. Next up, another piece that is rock solid, like it's almost made completely out of metal now. Oh, this must detach somehow. Oh, yeah, there we go. This little segment here can move around. Thusly, something in here must move as well. Yep, it seems like, more of these absolutely awesome sub-arms. Something that we didn't see enough of in something like the Witch from Mercury. Sub-arms. Sub-arms are the absolute greatest. Looking cool. So I will mention for this video, I'm going to be trying to use this version of Exia right here. This is the metal build Exia Repair. As far as I know, or Exia Repair 2 or 3, I don't really remember. I'll pop it up on the screen right now. As far as I know, this is pretty much identical to the version that they expect you to use with this, which is the revealed Chronicle version of Exia. Now, the reason I'm not using that is because I love it with the sub-arms up back. I love it with its massive sword, so I don't want to take all of that away from it in order to pop it into the GN arms. But this version right here is a lot plainer, doesn't have as much over-the-top stuff with it, so I'm going to see if I can get this into it, and if so, this is the one I'm going to leave in there. So because this is a monstrously complex figure, I'm going to be going through the manual step by step to see the different forms that this thing has. So it seems like we're going to be starting off with the GN Seifa unit. So that is this little awesome unit right here. And this little section that I was talking about before, this is when nothing is attached onto it, it seems. So you do remove that by pressing this little button in like so, and then apparently it should pop off. That button has totally nothing to do with that, does it? On the sides of this, we have a pair of sub-arms that pull down and out just like so. These are ridiculously cool. We've got a little hand segment right here, so if you wanted to hold on to the beam sabers, which come with the Exia, by the way, so there are no beam sabers included with this, well, you're able to do just that. These are stiff and super strong. These do actually open. For a second, I thought they were just set in position, but they do open ever so slightly, close like so. And finally, we've got this fold out little segment down. I figured out what this little button does. It actually affects the extension of that little ball joint right there. Man, this thing is ridiculously intricate. So we do have a button right here, which you push up, which allows this segment here to drop down just like so to release this little stand segment right here. How cool is that? Or should I say adapter segment? So in order to get Exia attached, first off, we will have to remove the GN drive like so. Now, I'm not actually sure if the GN drive powers the GN arms, or does the GN arms have a drive of its own in universe? Then we grab this little doohickey right here, which I was confused about earlier on, but I'm not, well, confused about anymore. That attaches in exactly where we took out the GN drive. So we have to get that just right, just like so. Depending on what you'd like to do at this point, you can either leave this on and attach all of this unit onto Exia just like so, but I will mention you cannot attach this to a stand then. In order to do that, you actually have to remove this joint and attach on this one right here, which is pretty much the same as what we just saw, with this little adapter part for attaching into the stand. So attaching the Exia onto this particular Seifa unit is very, very simple. It's just a 2-point attachment, just a ball joint into that GN drive round back, and then a simple peg into the crotch. This holds on extremely well. However, I will mention it does stop it from having any kind of swivel or rotation at the ab. Getting onto the stand again is super simple, but I will mention that this is a whole lot of stand for such a simple configuration. It does look a little bit over the top. However, that is what it looks like on it, and this is pretty cool. I guess in this particular design series, it seems they are obsessed with a 4-armed Exia, and I am all about it. This looks so, so good. Once again, this is only scratching the surface of what's inside of this box, and it's super impressive. I will also mention I'm taking a look at the manual right here. I do not have the metal build Dynamis just yet, or should I say Dunamis. Totally made that mistake again, but I don't have that, so I can't actually try that with this unit, but it does work. This is the Type E, by the way. I'm not sure if they'll make the other type, is it the Type N, sometime in future or not, but it'll be interesting to see if they will, but it can be used with that Dunamis. So next up in here, we've got this absolutely giant GN sword. This thing is over the top, and when I say the configurations inside this box go hard, they go hard. This is not something I was expecting, and it's going to be really cool. The way we're going to attach this on first is awesome. Anyway, like we saw before, this can open up in a whole host of different ways. Back here, these little segments, those can pop up just like so, and the front segments can open like this. So this is a very intricate unit. The front bits here, those can crab in just like so. And for both of these, we do have this nice little beam effect, which slots in so perfectly, looking absolutely gorgeous. This thing is huge and ridiculously impressive. So right now, it's when these guys right here come into the equation. Now, I didn't know what these were at first, and what they are is ridiculously cool. These are referred to as arm joints. They attach in here. This is a really cool metal on metal joint. This is extremely snug. How much do I have to push this? Ooh. And yes, there is one more place we saw this exact same shape, and that is up here. So yes, we can attach this on like a big old pair of sword wings. This is ridiculous. I wonder if this is just as hard to attach in. No, not so difficult. And just take a look at that. That is ridiculous. So popping that second arm on was a whole lot simpler, mainly because I wasn't talking while I was doing it, and they attach on perfectly. These are rock solid. Now, it does tell you in the manual you can attach in a couple more stands, those arm style stands to hold it in place, but I'm finding no issue whatsoever with this supporting itself. Now, I do recommend, if you do have it up on a shelf, to attach those on in case they sag over time or the wiggle makes it fall over, because it does wiggle a little bit when it's freestanding there. This is an absolute beast. Absolutely everything that we would have seen before, you can still do right here. These can be moved up into the front. That solid stand, make sure that they hold perfectly, and then we can just open these up just like before and pop in those beautiful looking beam effects. This is one of those figures that has way too many options. It makes you almost want to run out there and buy a couple of these guys just so you can have a couple of the different configurations and be bankrupt forever. So if that wasn't enough of a cool combination, there is a little bit more right here. So we've got these little joints in here. These are not made out of metal, these are just made out of plastic, but they do pretty much the same thing. These attach into the forearm of Exia just like so. Now I will mention this doesn't seem to be fitting entirely around on this version of Exia, but it does the job for now. Using this, you can attach that massive GN sword onto the actual arm itself. Now you will need these supplementary stands here because these arms aren't strong enough to hold up the weapon as is, not like the shoulder arms, but it is another option. I prefer the shoulders, a lot less finicky. So it seems the next combination we're going to be looking at will be using the GN cannons right here, which are ridiculously huge as well. So in this particular format, it looks like we're going to have to be removing some parts, namely this segment right here that pops off simple enough. The moving parts we have in here are this one up top here. This little segment back here can move as well. We do have this little drop out segment up at the front, which drops down like that. And apparently we can pull the thruster forward and back just like so. We're finally pulling out one of the heavy duty pieces in here, and that is this thing, which is predominantly made out of metal. Even this whole central segment right here is made out of that die cast metal. This thing is a beast. We've got these little arms up top right here, and that's what we're going to be using to attach on these cannons. So again, these GN cannons attached onto this big backpack piece, thankfully is super simple to click on ever so simply but ever so securely. We have a button up top right here, and what this does is align this little segment right in here. Now this attaches onto that safer pack we already had on the Exia, and it slots on just like so, adding some absolutely ridiculous bulk. So now instead of having those arms, we've got a giant pair of cannons above, and we still have those sub arms down here below. This says just fallen off. Okay, that might have been on right. So at first I thought getting this on was simple enough, but it seems like it is a little bit on the difficult side, mainly because I might be just confusing myself. First off, it just doesn't seem to click into place on the back of Exia. That's why I kind of put it at a little bit of an angle right here, so all the weight is towards the front, so it's not going to just slip off the back. The other thing is these two joints right here look like they have a joint. This to me looks like a little bit of a bend, so you're able to actually take this segment right here and maybe realign the cannons a little bit over the shoulder so you don't get the clash with these parts right here. But that doesn't seem to be the case either. I've tried bending and bending and bending. I even bent to the point, well, this is a review, so I wanted to try and push as far as I could to see what would happen, and it did end up mildly damaging a part, so be careful with these. They don't seem to, as far as I can see, bend at that point, but the cannons, once attached onto Exia like this, do look ridiculously cool, especially with the two tiny little sub-arms down here supporting it. Either way, it does look absolutely cool. It's fairly solid, even though it's not really clipped on or anything like that. It's holding on quite well. It does feel a little funny that it doesn't clip on, but it looks really damn cool. So it seems from here on out, we're actually going to be losing the Exia entirely. So if you just bought this unit on its own, did not have an Exia, well, this is pretty much what you will end up with. So just get Exia off. We will be coming back to that unit later. So from here, we're pretty much resetting this safer unit back to the way that it was at first, and just flipping a couple of things around to the back, attaching the same attachment point that was on it originally. Actually, you'd think this would be in the beginning of the manual, not later on in it, but hey, this seems like where you would start off. Anyway, next up then, we've got this, which is that cool cockpit section. Got a little switch around back, you just push that forward, take this little element here and twist that 90 degrees. And then this attaches in to that just like so. We've got this cool little kind of flight unit. These arms then move down like so, swivel around like this, and then just go into that form backwards. So a little bit of deja vu here. We've got the big old GN swords. You pop these on again, just the other way around, just like so. Next up, we will be needing a stand, and in order to align this for using with this unit, you just pop out this part in the front, realign it all so it's a little bit flatter down for using with a flight-shaped unit. Now, we'll mention this is extremely back-heavy. The manual right here says to use the attached stands, but I want this to be as clear as possible, so it keeps falling over on me, but use those included stands when you are doing this. It's very, very back-heavy, and the stand holding, or should I say the stand adapter that holds on the unit itself isn't strong enough to support it. It falls backwards. Anyway, this is what it looks like. All the moving parts still move exactly the same way we would have seen before, but now we've got this incredibly cool looking flight unit. Back to this safer unit again, and you just swing this forward, and then realign both of the arms. Basically get everything into the original position again. So reintroducing those heavy long-range weapons once again. This time around we have these pulled down just like so. The safer unit slots on exactly where it did before, and that time it locked. So there is a locking mechanism. Somehow the last time Exia was getting in the way. Back to that cockpit segment, and we've got a section here that you press and the wings pop out. That is cool. So you bring these out and forward again. This is decal to hell and back and looks phenomenal. Yeah, then we get this absolute monster of a unit, and this attaches in there a little something like that. Clicks on in, and there we have that unit. Look at that. Now that I'm super digging. That looks like it can cause some major damage. So if that wasn't enough, we're finally getting the leg segments into the mix. These are huge once again, metal framed, absolutely ridiculous. So this thing is going to weigh a ton once it is all attached together. So first off, underneath this absolute block, we've got these sliding little bits. So pop that over, and these can slide over side to side just like so. Apparently we need these somewhere in the middle, so hopefully that will lock and stay in place. And there's the other one, so that wasn't locked at all, so hopefully that will lock it in place. These then attach on in like that. Wait a minute, this is the locking mechanism to lock those arms in place. Okay, so that's that locked in. Get the second one then in there, and that is it locked in. And this thing is absolutely ridiculous. It's getting heavy now. So it seems the manual wants these moved back and brought up into this. Oh, but yeah, it seems the manual wants them tucked back like so, and that isn't even everything yet. So yeah, this manual right here makes some odd suggestions. The main one being putting it on the stand till last. That makes everything extremely difficult. I would say put it on the stand first. Whoa, this thing is a brick. Getting this attached into its stand involves just popping this little segment off from underneath, so we do have a nice little metal attachment point in here to make sure this holds on, and this will need it. The stand, however, is in plastic. It just slides on like so. This isn't the simplest thing to do. I have to turn it upside down. Probably would have been easier to get the adapter onto this first and then drop it down onto the stand. But this is what we've got here, and it's not even done yet. We've got 4. I repeat, 4 more parts to attach onto it. So the next thing we're throwing into the mix is these wings. Once again, ridiculously detailed. We've got metal attachment point right up here, and we do have a little bit of a button on the side here that you push in order to attach this on. So you push in the button, and that makes sure that these are locked in. This particular figure is not joking about at all when it comes to attachment of parts. So there is one, flipping this absolute monster all the way around to the other side. Get that wing ready, push in the button, attach that on in, and there we go, getting even bigger, and it's still gonna get even bigger. So yeah, those right there, those are just begging to have those big arms attached on. That's those metal square holes once again. I will also mention we do have some more underneath this little tab here. That's the same on both sides of both of the cannon segments. So there is other options for actually putting this together, which I won't be taking a look at today. You can actually take the whole part that the wing is attached to off as well. There's a whole load of bits and pieces inside of this box that you can attach it on. There's different configurations for how you attach the GN arms together. You're actually able to strip it all down to a cannon on the back of Exia style mode. There's so many different choices in here, all of which went more and more and more and more. Honestly, way too much for me to squeeze into this here video, but there is the images inside of the manual for what you're going to do. I'm just going to build this up as the standard GN arms attached to Exia for today. So these attach on the way they were before, so you don't have to realign this arm joint right here, and something tells me this isn't going to be the easiest thing to do past all of this stuff. Maybe this needs to be at somewhat of an angle, so try and get this angled in advance, and having a little bit of clash of parts here. Can I rotate this out of the way just for a second? That's not so easy. Oh, that would be the problem. They don't attach on the way they did before. They attach on the way they did when they're on Exia's shoulders. Whew, this thing is a beast. Okay, so finally there it is put together, and this thing is a metal build behemoth. I'm blown away. I don't even know what to say. There is Exia side by side with it, so you can get an idea of what size this is. Remember, Exia, this is the size of the master grade, so this thing is absolutely huge. Like, this is off the charts huge. I knew it would be big, and I guess I assumed it would be heavy, but yeah, this stand has a lot of work cut out for it. I think you're meant to use 2 more as well. So anyway, now it's time to get Exia into the mix, which is what we really want to see, and all I can say is this is no simple endeavor whatsoever, so here we go. Alright, so getting Exia into this point right here isn't too difficult. Now, I have to admit, at this point I started ignoring the manual because I feel like it's constantly just blowing smoke right up my arse. So, instead of actually removing the big old arms, these ones right here, I left them on for the entirety of the duration of doing this. So you just pop out the central aspect, drop out the little adapter we would have had before, you attach Exia into the Seifa unit like this, in the way we had done before, and I actually figured out why I couldn't get Exia to click in the last time I was trying. It's because the 2 sub arms round back have to be brought in as close to the body as possible, or they'll block that whole unit from being attached into the GN arms. But once you do, you've got this. And now you've got to do the little arm segments down here. You slide them down like so. We've got another little joint that you click in here. 2 parts open up, and probably another bit of manual blowing smoke up my arse right here is this little segment. So this little segment right here, there's one for using with Exia, one for using with Dunamis. This attaches in here, and it's so awkward to do it when it's all put together that if it had told me to do it before it was put together, it would have been a whole lot easier. But no, you just have to make it kind of awkward on me. Anyway, that went a lot simpler than the first one, so you can ignore that complaint. So anyway, finally we need to get Exia's foot onto that little adapter we just threw in, a little something like so, and then you can close in the parts like this, and I think that is it. I think that is the GN arms finally finished, and it's massive and even heavier than you'd ever expect. We've got a whole bunch of moving parts up here, some little drop out parts, extending cannons, you can fold up the wings, lots of little bits there. Down at the arms, these can extend out a whole lot. We've got the grabby arm segments right here. They move out just like so, looking fantastic. And an extra joint there. And if that wasn't enough, we even have another little fold out arm section down here. How many sub arms does it need? Well, maybe a few because the finger just fucking fell off. Maybe it's quantity over finger quality. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and there's not really much to say here. Do you want the most over-the-top Gundam 00 thing that is in existence? Then this might be what you're looking for. I do have the perfect grade Exia knocking around. I'll throw it beside it right now for the footage so you can see what a perfect grade looks like beside it, so you can decide on what big over-the-top Gundam 00 thing suits you better. But what can I say, this is ridiculous. The weight of it alone, the amount of options inside of the box, and the fact that it is compatible with all the other metal build Gundam 00 releases is ridiculous. This is an over-the-top premium figure, and that's exactly what it was. So, or should I say, what it is. So if you do want one of your own, there's a link down there in the description. I got mine through BUYEE. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews and videos, and I'll see you next time. Once again, this video right here, and none of these videos would be possible without each and every single one of you guys who watches my videos, and special thanks to those of you who are supporting me over on Patreon and here on the channel memberships, including 10 Soldier YT, Caleb Engelhart, Dashil Marmion, Go Little Rockstar, Joe, Lauren Seahack, RG59061, and Van Fawn.